Hi everybody, thanks for coming. My name is Daniel. My background is in local authority, waste management and local agenda 21, which we just heard about in the previous talk. I've been doing sort of behaviour change and waste management for the last 10-12 years. What I want to do today is just take you through my experience at Newcastle University with our network of environmental coordinators. So we've been on a little bit of a journey in the last 6-7 years, and I want to show you, I want to tell you what I've learned from that, and then I want to show you a couple of clips about where we might be able to focus our energies more efficiently, and then I'm going to show you a clip about leadership and social norms. Okay.
Thanks. My name is Tom Yearley. I'm Energy Officer at the University of Reading. My main responsibilities at the university are making sure that we get the utility bills paid, but also helping people to reduce the amount of energy that they're using and to try and work in a more low carbon way. I'm going to be doing a quick workshop on how to use data in a way that environmental champions or environmental coordinators might find useful. Thanks very much. Yeah, so that's me.
Hi, I'm Helen Cutts. I'm from Wigan and Leigh College. I'm Sustainability and Health and Safety Officer. So it's a really broad role which covers energy, waste, transport, education for sustainable development and health and safety. So I obviously need as much help as I can get doing that, and I'm just going to share with you my experiences in trying to get a network of staff across college to help me with the sustainability agenda, really.
Hi, I'm Neil Smith. I'm the Environment Manager at the University of Southampton, and similar to what we just heard, is that I'm going to talk about the approach we've taken on developing on the back of the carbon management plan at the university network of environmental champions initially, and then how we engage with that group to try and find out a little bit about what motivated them and what would encourage them to promote their role, and sort of leading on where would that take us. So I'm going to talk through that, the kind of work we do with that network.
Thanks. Right, it feels very much we're sat behind the table here and we're going to be telling you exactly what we're going to do to encourage all of our staff, all of our students to become environmental champions and do our jobs for us. I'm afraid if that's what you've come here for, you might be a little bit disappointed. Okay, yeah, we'll make your exits now, we won't mind. No, what we're going to try and do is treat this more as a group session to get some ideas out of yourselves as the audience, and to hear some more structured thoughts on what we've done as facilitators of this ourselves. So you'd be happy to know the first thing we're going to do is a quick workshop. Hopefully you can all see that, it's all quite clear. I want you to split up into, say, maybe 3 or 4 groups. Say hello to everybody, introduce yourselves, and then have a quick brainstorm about what you've done around your organisation, around your institution. Try and have a think about whether you've had positive experiences with your environmental champions. Have you had any experiences with your environmental champions, or are you coming into this session cold? Are people quite keen and eager? I was quite interested from the Procter & Gamble talk that we just had, that maybe 15% of people will be pro-environmental, altruistic and active people, 10% might be against it, and then the middle 75%, you've got to be able to get them to do it without actually doing anything. And I thought that kind of rang true with what we're looking at Reading. What challenges have you faced? So some of you guys, I'm sure, are as experienced as we are in running environmental champion networks. Have you started off strong, had an initial spurt, maybe had loads of engagement with people, and then time came to write the budget or to put your CRC submission in or something like that, and it kind of waned off a little bit? How big's your group? Have you got 95% of staff signed up as environmental champions? Or have you got a group of maybe 5 or 10 really keen people in departments? And finally, how do you manage them? How do you coordinate that group of maybe 2,000 or 3,000 environmental champions that you've got at your institution? So yeah, if you just break into 3 or 4 groups, have a think about that, and then we'll feed back some key ideas to the group in, say, 5 minutes. Right, everyone, sorry to interrupt the conversation. I know it's going very well. We'll have a chance to develop on some of these ideas a bit later in another workshop towards the end of the session. So hopefully you've had a chance to have some thoughts on that. And if you wouldn't mind feeding back the sort of overall topics that you've been discussing, that would be fantastic. We start over at this end of the room.
Yeah, I think we sort of identified some of these networks have a sort of a shelf life. We had one at Birmingham, maybe started about 2003, it was successful. Some people volunteer, some work for a few years, and then it went very stale, it's basically not there anymore. But another network sort of sprung informally as a result of doing green impact schemes. So a lot of, they're not officially called green champions, but they obviously are, and they might not know they have come out of good work. It's a way of developing that maybe across the whole university. That was all being discussed.
Is that like a thing that people find it's useful to hook them on something, like another initiative? Other people find that?
Well, we spoke of carbon management plans as exactly as the hook for this. And it's the thing that engages senior management quite readily because there's money to be saved, and it's probably the more accessible bit for the for people that are at the ground, as it were.
We have found green impact very useful in the fact that a lot of our coordinators, because we had a coordinator network before, and they want to do something and they want a very practical solution. And so having something like green impact, for example, to hang it on gives them the practical solutions to do something kind of locally in their area with such a large institution.
And recognition.
Yeah. Not the recognition so much actually. I told someone to submit the other day because, whatever they did, they get working towards and they bit me back saying, no, it's not the recognition, it's the green. So we're not finding that as much.
Unfortunately, our Deputy Vice Chancellor called it working towards a third. That put a lot of people off doing it. So it's getting those guys on message as well.
Yeah.
That's raised quite an interesting point. I mean, do you find at your institutions there's senior management buy into this? Do you get that at all?
What we said is that the seniors do brings the middle management back down because the seniors see the cost implications of saving carbon, but the middle management who are trying to, who need to give the champions the time, they're the ones who aren't sort of getting it.
In particular, in many universities, well, there's a big division between the academic side and the professional services side. It's much more challenging to manage the academic departments and heads of departments than it is with the support structure.
So even though necessarily possibly the deans are on board, but you then find as you go that nothing else is happening.
I'm not sure that senior management have necessarily bought into the idea of champions networks. They're bought into the idea of saving money. And if this is the way to do it, great. But you can bring me something better that doesn't have to involve everybody out there and we'll do that as well. So, yeah.
So you find you get that top level, you get the grassroots, but trying to get the two to meet in the middle is very difficult. We certainly get that already.
And I would say, I think recognition, it might not be Leeds an issue, but I think that's something that we found that people are out there trying to engage with sustainability discussions in their schools and their departments. But if they feel that it's not a recognised part of their role, then it's very hard for them to maintain that momentum and keep going when there's the kind of sneering that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily across the board. We've just got a very kind of varied approach, but like I said, we've had to give workload permission, just a very small amount to our coordinators to get it recognised by the middle management, which is the ones who have to kind of release that time.
One thing we did which kind of helped towards getting time for the champions then is we got one of our senior management committees to agree that when someone became a sustainability champion that they had 2 days of working year to work on green things, and so that's sort of spread out across the whole year. And we kind of get them to sign off this kind of form, and their line manager has to sign off as well, so that they can see that they've actually signed off. We've given you 2 days of your working year to work on this. Practically, some of them spend a lot more than that, and some spend less, but it's kind of this helpful thing to have it.
So that sort of mutual commitment then,
yeah.
for
Has anybody, dare I ask, managed to get it built into a job description?
We've got it in our terms and conditions, and that's for new staff that started as of the last academic year. So it's technically part of their contract, and that's a very top level, almost taken straight out of ISO 14,000, but people will be aware of the environmental policy and adhere to its conditions, try and minimise the environmental aspects and impacts, or the impacts associated with aspects, but actually in specific job descriptions across the board. I know from our perspective, the line that we get back from HR is that, well, if we could do that, then we also have specific mentions of health and safety and equal opportunities, and everything else. It's trying to set sustainability apart from those other factors. Does anyone else have any?
Yes, and in our accommodation services, in the process of going for investors in people accreditation, have reviewed all the job roles and person specifications, and have included just above anything else management tells us to do. I've got a phrase from the cleaners, cleaning out the student rooms, to the catering staff, to the residence managers, to contribute to the departments, in that case the accommodation services department's sustainability objectives. And it's just a simple thing, but it then takes away that thing, well, it's not my job, well, that sort of stuff. And strictly, on a normal PDR process, we all ought to be reviewing our job descriptions each year, and we have our conversations with our managers, and that's actually very helpful. But of course, if you've not got that as an ethos in the institution, that's quite difficult.
Okay, some good thoughts there, and we've got them captured up there. Keeps going through my mind that you can probably run a day's training workshop discussion on this topic, but we've got an hour and a half. So what we'll do now is move on to each of the case studies from the different universities and colleges that we've got here today, which will take about the next half hour or so of the meeting. So, Helen, do you want to go next?
I'm from Wigan and Leeds College. We are in the northwest. We have 6 sites and about 850 staff, from about 14,000 students full and part-time. And like I said, I'm a sustainability officer, and when I first started back in 2009, we had very little going on in terms of sustainability. So I tried to set up a network of champions. I got the champions up and running at the same time as we entered into 1010 to try and cut our emissions by 10%. It's just a bit of a hook, really. I got 25, and they are mainly support staff. I think we have like 2 academic staff. And how did I get them? Well, I asked around for people who are keen, because it's really hard to engage people who do not care about this agenda. You already feel they're so busy and they don't have the time. So I did originally go to staff who have a bike and they cycle in, or I knew that they were a scuba diver, or they had some kind of interest that I could link into sustainability. Say, oh well, if you're one of my champions, then we can look into improving cycle facilities and looking at our shower facilities and promoting that, getting more people, bicycle user groups, that kind of thing. I did some training for them. We have staff development days, and I did a basic hour-long training session. Firstly, I explained what sustainability is, because not all of them were entirely sure. And then what we wanted as a college, where I wanted to be in terms of energy management, waste, travel planning, and the other events that I was running as a sustainability officer. I think where I shot myself in the foot originally was that I tried to sell it as, this is not going to be that much work. Honestly, I promise you, no work at all. In fact, we'll just have email contact, apart from, maybe one training session a year. I'm not asking that much for you. But that led to very little communication, obviously. And I had some really keen champions, and then some that I never really heard from again. And I think they'd been pushed by a manager into doing it, and they attended the training session, nodded at all the right places, and then left and were silent. But I did have some really keen people, and we did Walk to Work Week, we did a Greater Manchester Cycle Challenge. I tried to get us involved in all the stuff that was going on in our local area that might confuse them, at the same time as asking them to tell me where we had faults. Because 6 buildings, I don't know where the lighting sensors aren't working anymore and where all my posters have fallen off the walls. I needed somebody to basically be my eyes and ears and to try and encourage people in their department. So we've done quite a lot, apart from the sustainability champions, in terms of energy reduction behind the scenes. And I've tried to communicate that, but sometimes in college it's how do you communicate to staff and all staff email. Most people will delete that as soon as it comes into their inbox. And we have this thing called Message of the Day, which pops up as soon as you turn on your computer. Most people just click through that straight away as well. It is hard to communicate a message across the board. But we have been doing quite well in terms of reducing our energy, and I think that can further enthuse our staff. So this is our biggest building, and the red bars are 2009-10, the green are 2010-11, and the blue is 11-12 electricity consumption at our building. So we've been doing quite well in trying to get consumption down, which is brilliant, but imagine what I could do if I actually had a network of champions who were doing more. So really this is just my journey and the lessons that I've learned. I think I need to start again and relaunch my champions, and really congratulate the ones that have been doing work for me this whole time, and the ones that have been coming to me and telling me where we've got issues, where they've found new technology and they think maybe it could help, where there's lights that are on 24/7, things like that. They do report. We've just done our carbon management plan. We did the first round with further education colleges just gone, and so we formed a carbon management team as part of that, who are totally different to the champions. They're not the same people, because the carbon management team are the senior management. So working with the senior management and using them as champions, plus the environmental sustainability champions that I already had, and trying to get them to work together. It's been a funny time at college. I would imagine it's been like that in most places, and we have lost some staff have been given new roles. So I see this as quite a key opportunity to work with people now. I've got staff working in subject areas that they weren't managing before. So it's a great opportunity to engage with people about this, now that they are looking with fresh eyes at a different area in college. And we've got a new student services manager, which is great, because we didn't really have one before, and we don't have a learner voice, and we don't have a really active NUS. And I think that we need to start getting student champions as well as staff champions. So working with Roger, the new student services manager, is going to be great. We've already got some students in one of our buildings, electrical engineers. They're running surveys of our energy usage and are nagging me constantly about the areas that are poorly performing, and asking me why, and saying, well, we know that they're using this out of hours, so why is that happening? And that's brilliant, because I don't always have the time to look at every single building, and there are courses where it can be really relevant. So that's just my journey. From listening to what a lot of people were saying, I think it's a little bit similar to everybody else's. And I'm looking forward to see what comes out today, to get more ideas to go back because I am going to relaunch this, and then hopefully I'll be able to, in a year's time, say it's slightly more successful than the last couple of years have been.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit about journey at Southampton University, and it's going to mirror a lot of what we've been talking about before and some of the things I was asking, because a lot of the stuff we talked about in the groups is exactly what we faced at Southampton, and we continue to battle to get this sorted. So, a bit of a timeline. First carbon management plan way back in 2005-06. We'll be very serious around our tables, coming up with what are the issues facing us. That was 5 years ago. We've done exactly how many times have we done that? I'm not quite sure. But produced an Environment Champions pack in 2006-07, which was stolen from EnviroWise, if anybody remembers that organisation. And we had a call out from our Deputy Vice Chancellor for the Champions, and there was quite a very good response because it's a company that was beaten from the top. And so then we started running this network, which was really a series of meetings during the year, but what I would describe as show and tell. So it's people like myself and our energy manager very much standing up at the front saying, isn't this all this wonderful stuff we're doing? And, oh, by the way, can you tell other people about it? And as we've heard before, it started tailing off. Lots of other initiatives come along. So in July 2010, decided, right, time to have a bit of a refresh and do something with this. So we ran a workshop in 2010, and these are our objectives. So basically a bit of a revitalisation. And I was helped by somebody from our training side, and they sort of started talking to me about, well, do you actually really understand what it is you want the Environment Champions to do, and how do you think they view their role? So it was a real bit of navel gazing, really, which I wasn't really, didn't feel myself necessarily particularly equipped to do, but having somebody alongside who's actually a trainer, this is the kind of stuff they do, because they'll be talking to, this is the same kind of techniques, they'll be talking to staff about how do you manage your team. It's no different. So the same kind of management techniques can be applied here. So, and so the questions we came up with were things like, what would help with recognition of role? This whole idea is that these are volunteers, it's not written into the job description, the reason why I was asking that question. There's no financial reward to them, it's on top of their day job. So therefore, what would it mean for you to be a champion? And we use this decision tree at the bottom as a management tool, whereby you're discussing groups about what you think the issue or problem is, and then the roots are the causes of that problem, and the branches are the consequences. So, well known is, well, I don't know before then, but as I said, this is a technique that's used out to engage with staff. And if people want to know more about this, I can sort of tell you, but it's just a way to get people basically talking about the whole thing. So, these are the things that actually came out of it. Basically getting the message out there to senior management about what they're up to, developing a toolkit, an induction toolkit, which we did. At the time we were going through a big reorganisation, so we needed to engage with the transition team, as they were called. So we had an opportunity where there was so much change going on anyway to start to try and get this more widely known. A job description starting to be drafting up, getting better communication, and then maybe a bit more aspirational, trying to get a champion per building. And then this really important bit about feeding back what we've been up to. We produced terms of reference, so the idea of this really was to give the group a bit more this formalising of the role. So rather than just sort of being ad hoc, the same way this is a group that's actually got some structure to it, and there's this bringing some structure to that, to say exactly what it is that we wanted this group to do, and obviously they had to sign up on this and say yes, that's what we're going to do. And where are we now? We run 3 workshops a year. Now they're workshop based. I said earlier about the show and tell. What we do is we ask them what kind of topic areas they would like to cover, and we come up with proposals as well. So the kind of workshops we've done with them are things like around our travel plans. So we've got specific questions we want to ask them. recycling, we ask them about communication, and we get them to break up into syndicate groups, very like this, and we get them to brainstorm and come up with ideas, which are then helping us do the day job. And actually it's been much better received because it gives them a feeling as though they're actually doing something rather than sitting there just being talked at and saying, this is the way it's going to be. And those have worked well. I have to say the other carrot is that we do give them lunch, and that also helps. We're now in Carbon Management Plan 2, and we just sent out an all-staff email about coming up with ideas. We've had 300 responses to that, which we're wading through at the moment. On the back of that, we ran what's called a Sustainable Behaviours workshop. So we talked about, with again the usual suspects really, about what it is, how do we communicate, how do we motivate staff who are not engaged already in this. So all the people in that room are the usual suspects, the people we know are already keen, but in a sense they've got it. We don't need to really talk to them. It's the other 98.9% where it is at the university we really need to get to. So what is it how are we going to link into that? We've just signed up for building energy audits with a company, and part of that will be to make sure that when they're doing the audit on the building, they actually have a member of staff from that building with them. And we see that as being a really good way to start building some kind of ownership of what's happening in the building. Sustainable behaviours, we're going to see where that leads us. This job description versus letter of support. We drafted up a couple of letters, which was to go to the line manager and to the sustainability officer, to sort of formalise that role and to try and get them to include it into the appraisal process. That has died a death, but we're going to resurrect that. But we see that as quite vital to give, again, that formalising of the role. And we're signed up to be EcoCampus very late coming to it, but already I can foresee through, for example, internal audit, again, a formalisation of that role, and that might well be people in health and safety already doing this, but then that might start to job it, in terms of giving them more of a role and giving them more structure. I can see that being quite helpful, because I think that's a lot of the issues that people don't really know where they fit in the organisation, how it sits into the strategic approach, and I think the EcoCampus will help. That's it.
Right, thanks for that. As I've just told you, my name is Tom Yearley from the University of Reading. Brief history in the context of where we are at Reading. Our Environment, Energy, Sustainability and Travel team has been in place for about 3 years now. Prior to that, energy was dealt with by maintenance, and waste was also dealt with in facilities as well as someone else's job. So it's a relatively new team, and we've really started trying to pull together other initiatives that have been running around the university over the past 3 years. Two key ways that we've tried to achieve that. One, as you guys already alluded to, is the Higher Education Carbon Management Programme, which has worked really well at engaging FMD. It's worked reasonably well at engaging with commercial services, and 1 or 2 academics know about it as well. So that's had some success, but it has helped us get our house in order in the energy team. In addition to that, we've got our EcoCampus system, which does link in closely with the Higher Education Carbon Management Programme. And again, it's about identifying our aspects and impacts around the university, finding out who's out there and what we can do to improve it. So the title of the workshop today was Scaling Up Sustainability through Environmental Champions Networks. So I wanted to give you a positive example of how we've worked with our environmental champions to try and scale up sustainability on campus. And believe it or not, it's by giving them a lot of data to work with. So we set this case study up, we set this pilot study up in our green building on campus. At the time, it was our green building because it had a ground source heat pump, and the building itself had insulation which was over and above building regulation requirements, and so it was seen as the green building. The users within the building were aware of the fact there was a green building, and they were kind of proud about that. The building manager was very proud about that, so they were quite accepting to talk to us when we said, right, we want to push green issues within this building. We had a couple of challenges from senior management, director of facilities, saying, well, why are we focusing on this building? This is our most environmentally friendly building. And we went back and said, well, if we can do it here, the chances are the lessons that we learn can be used anywhere around the campus. And that worked. So how did we do it? First of all, we thought we need some data for that building. It's an admin building, it's got student services in it, maybe about 70 or 80 staff. So rather than taking a half-hourly meter as a one-off for the building, we decided to split the building into 6 separate sections and meter each one of those sections' electricity consumption on a minute-by-minute basis to see whether using an awful lot of data to communicate with people would actually work. So we did that first step and provided detailed and meaningful data. It was very detailed because it was taken on minute-by-minute basis, and it was meaningful because we gave it to them in a chart and actually went down and sat down with the building manager and with interested parties to begin with in the building. So we sat them through a profile chart and said, right, you can see here you've got your 5 working days, 2 days at the weekend where the chart looks a lot lower. You can see that spike that's coming on every couple of minutes there. That could be a refrigeration unit in a vending machine. It could be a water heater. It could be any number of things. And then we asked them to come back to us with what they thought it might be. So we put the data into context with the building manager. Now we initially thought that that would completely turn them off. We thought that by showing them these technical graphs and detailed data, they'd run a million miles from us. But that actually started to work quite well, and it got the attention of the key people within the building. So we presented the data to the champions. They then bit the bullet. The building manager was quite impressed with this. We have one other area of the building where the environmental champions were very keen to see how they could start to flatten out, smooth out the graphs. And of course, we had 6 sets of these meters in the building. So the challenge was then finding other people within the building to take up the challenge and champion it within their area. But initially, we started rolling out to people. The building manager said, right, well, what's this series of spikes here? And we managed to pin it down to 2 vending machines that were in the corridor of the building. So this building happens to be sat between a cafe and the Students' Union, both of which have got some of the better catering facilities on site. So we said, how much do you think those vending machines are being used? Do you think anyone missed them? And they said, well, I don't know. They've got a bit of use. Commercial services deal with that. We'll see if we can remove one of them. So we removed one of them, and they saw their electricity consumption went down. We didn't tell them by how much, but they could see that the chart was actually smoothed out slightly. They didn't have those spikes in there. So they had that feedback to showing them that they were making a physical difference to the energy consumption in their building. When they saw that, they said, right, no one's complained that we've removed that one, let's just get rid of the other one as well. So we got rid of the other one, and lo and behold, we didn't get any complaints from the building users. So that feedback loop that we gave them, by suggesting potential activities for them to do, really put the bit between their teeth and showed that the actions that they make as environmental champions within that building can have a direct consequence on their energy performance within the building. So once they'd looked at the obvious things, like the vending machines in the buildings, they were saying, well, we've got these light sensors, we've got PIR, proximity infrareds, on our lights in our foyers, and they're always on. Even in the middle of the summer, the foyer lights are always on in one of our most energy efficient buildings. So we managed to secure some funding to do a lighting survey in the building, and in the end, long story short, we cut out one in every lamp, possibly get over here, and then set the PIRs up correctly. So despite the fact that it was our most energy efficient building, our environmental building, the lighting hadn't been properly specified and the lighting controls hadn't been set up properly. So we gave the building users the opportunity to take control of their building, and we gave them something back through giving them that control. And yet again, we could show them the charts, and we could show them directly what difference that made to their energy consumption in the building. So we went through this process. We started with the obvious things, the vending machines and the lights. We then drilled it down into things like the like water heaters, electric water heaters. We got them in touch with the BMS manager. They built up a relationship there, and they saw their energy consumption going down and the curves being smoothed out. Oops, it's not going to go that way. So we prompted the opportunities for them to act. We then started the cycle again. So we're continually going around this virtuous loop of providing the detailed and meaningful data, presenting it to the champions, suggesting potential actions, and prompting opportunities to act. And the way we did that, I'll show you the slide in a couple of minutes, but we gave them a league table, very simple, gold stars, silver stars, and exclamation marks. And as the theme of these presentations has gone, we started this project in October 2009. We were really engaged with them. We got a lot of these actions in by about October 2010, and then we started focusing on other things. Now, fortunately for us, because the environmental champions in the building had engaged with the programme, they had access to the database with the data and the charts on it, and they'd seen that their actions could directly impact on the energy consumption of the building. When we picked it up again just before Christmas, so say end of 2011, we saw that there was actually a sustained 20 to 25% reduction in lighting and plug-in-the-wall equipment. So now that we've managed to demonstrate that that's possible by engaging with the environmental champions and by giving them control and giving them the ability to do it, the challenge is to go and address our other 300 odd buildings that we've got on campus, and that's where the challenge of the scalability of the project comes into play. So this is an example of the charts that we send out. We've just started resending this to all of the members of staff in those buildings. And you can see up there, every day they get an exclamation mark, a gold star or a silver star. Now this is out of hours electricity consumption. It's set against the baseline, which is effectively the minimum energy consumption that they can get. So we set it on something like Christmas Day or Earth Hour this coming weekend. If they're within 10% of that, they get a gold star, which is 3 points on the right-hand side. 20% they get a silver star, which is 1 point, exclamation mark, they get no points. At the end of the term, the winning team gets a box of donuts, which is great. And so people that couldn't care less about climate change or energy, but really like donuts, get involved in this scheme because they like the donuts. And it's one of the things that we find that if we can try and detach sometimes the energy consumption and the environmental issues from being green and saving the polar bears, then those people that are naturally put off by that, they go for the donuts, which is great. And donuts aren't as expensive as you might think. So there we go, and then we end up with the nice pictures that we can put up on our newsletters. Someone pointing towards their B-rated deck, which they managed to get up from a C as a consequence of this project, and then a nice chart showing the finances and a bit of an explanation. We actually got a student to design that chart for us, so it's one of the rare occasions where we've managed to get our commercial activities directly linked in with student volunteers as well. So I'm not saying that we've got these sorts of projects running across all of our buildings, across all of our campuses at Reading, but it is an example that by giving people lots of data, feeding back to them and giving them the opportunity to make some changes within their working environment, that we can actually make quite substantial energy savings. I'll say it.
So I'm going to quickly talk to you about the history of the EAUC Castle, very quickly, and then I'm going to make two big observations that I've made, which you probably also made, but I'm just going to emphasise them. And then also at the end I'm going to give you an example of leadership and behaviour change. So This is our timeline. Started off with the ECs in 2007. By the way, ECs, Environmental Coordinators, that's what we're called in our organisation. Anybody else environmental coordinators? Yeah, environmental champions? Sustainability champions? Anything else? Energy champions. Carbon champions. Okay. So we started off, probably like you guys, with a consultation exercise. Everyone got really excited. We've got a consultant to produce a report. So everyone's really hyped up for sustainability in 2007. We had 30 members. Our PVC looked at the report, threw it in the bin. So stopped up momentum straight away. They went really quiet. You know, you got loads of energy going, and then it just got stopped. Then in 2008-9, we started looking at recycling, and that kind of got everybody excited again. So we did a full rollout of the recycling scheme, and as part of that, we did a lot of consultation, a lot of rap-style communications, and that kind of got people fired up again. So we ended up having a group of 80 strong network, and while we had this 80 strong network, we thought, what should we do? Let's set some objectives and targets. So had them back in again, consultation. What targets do you think you should have? Let's set some objectives. Brilliant. We had quarterly meetings. We did award schemes, did incentives, all this different stuff. I'll run through some photos of that. So this observation is about senior commitment. These are the two top guys in Newcastle University. And really obvious. Yes, we can get senior commitment, but then we've obviously already pointed out it's the middle management that where it kind of falls down. So we've got an awards session here, where this is the VC giving out awards. This is the VC turning his monitor off. Sure, we've all done the same. VC giving out another award. This is a group award for an environmental eco team in the library. This is a EC network, again, EC networking, again, food, obviously, is a big drawing, people. So that's how it went on, and we thought, right, these 80 people who are really doing lots for us, how can we zhuzh them up and even a little bit more? So we asked them, what do you need? And they said, we need more technical advice, we need more help. So we went out and we actually got an environmental coordinator support officer who actually helped them with their environmental coordinator role. So they will get them extra guidance, loads of like posters they can stick up. You know, this is a fridge magnet. Put more posters, bin amnesty, give up your bin, get some chocolate, all that sort of stuff. So really positive projects. This is giving compost away, not strictly legal, but it was a good incentive. And that takes us to about last year. And the attendance to the quarterly meetings kind of phased off. Didn't get much response from emails. This is an energy event where we actually would go in and do the event for them, and they just need to attend. So now we've kind of got out of the 80 original, we've got about 20 who are kind of still active. So we had a real like nosedive in attendance, activity. So we actually got in a behaviour change consultant a couple of weeks ago, and we had a chat about this. And he kind of was like, I haven't really got any answers for you, because we've got senior commitment, we've done the incentivisation, all that sort of thing. Didn't have much to say really. So this is where we stand at the minute. We kind of thought, what do we do? And I'll put this a little bit discuss some photo, but I'm going to put it in so it emphasises it. Like, we're doing some more navel gazing. So we're really we're going to break down the EC network, again, consult them, ask what they want to do. But basically it's like, do you want to be an EC? Basically that's what we're going to be asking the student. So that's a quick rundown of the Newcastle University's EC network. Now I'm going to make some observations. This is a result from what I've seen in the last few years, but it's about what we see the ECs as, what are they, how do they function, how do they scale our sustainability. So, do you see them as a mouthpiece? Just spreading your word. Do you see them as someone who takes your information, translates it, and puts it out to their staff? Do you see them as someone preaching in each department? Or do you see them as just reporting fact? Or do you see them like a ghetto blaster, just blasting everybody with this sustainability information? Or this is kind of like us really. It's like you're passing the policy and they then send out an email. Or do they do all of that? And these are people who already have a job. So what I'm saying is, you know, we're asking a hell of a lot already. This observation is more about, this is about communication and skill and sustainability. So it's not so much an observation on an EAUC network, but it's about what we communicate. And it's about action. Bridging the gap between somebody knowing about something and somebody acting on it. So, how many people in here know why it's good to give blood? Pretty confident you know why? So it's more or less 100%. How many people think it's a good thing to do? Almost 100%. So you're all aware of why you should do it. You know it's a good thing, but not many people give blood. Same with organ donation. And this one's really good. So, these are Canadian doctors, right? Not UK doctors. Right. Any guesses? That's So these are people who've been at university for 8 years, right? Loads of studying, best brains ever. They know microbial activity is what's causing MRSA. So between patients, they're still not washing their hands. So these people are totally aware of the implications of what they're doing, yet still not washing their hands. And this is about, so it's about becoming a social norm. You know, in the 70s, no one wore a seatbelt, people smoking in the room, in the offices, now don't. So it's a social norm. And this is a observation from a website called Beyond Attitude. So that's how shopping's changed in the last 10 years. And this is just a quick clip from Google, which kind of demonstrates social norms as well. If it loads, please do. It's not going to load, is it? I tested this earlier. Oh, wonderful. Watch the faces of people in the cars. So I'm emphasising basically like when something becomes a social norm, people are horrified when they're not part of that group. So ECs and change groups, it's about making activities a social norm. And I think what this is about is, instead of, you know, people are aware they should be recycling, people are aware they should be turning stuff off. So you kind of got to change your communication so that it's on the activity, the action, rather than reams and reams of posters and that sort of thing. So maybe that's where we could concentrate EC activity. This is what I've learned from our EC network, specific actions. There needs to be a dedicated resource. People should want to be involved, they shouldn't be made to do it. And how you incentivise that, I don't know. Got to be a variety of activities. You can't just keep sending them recycling posters and energy posters. You've got to bring them out, show them the composter, take them to the waste treatment facility, whatever, and review the role. Because I had a question over there about guilty and fatigue. You know, after a year, people might just want to change the EC role. One-on-one meetings. Edinburgh have used this to great effect, where they send people in and actually talk to people in the office. So we're kind of bringing that in on what we do now. So we're going out and actually talking to the ECs. And I picked a great tip up from an NHS presentation the other week, and I'll do this from now on. When they get this guy who was speaking, Jason Mitchell from NHS Leeds, he said when he got a delivery of bins to put out for his recycling campaign, he went out in the offices and dropped them down, put the stickers on, so that then people can see who's doing it and see he's rolling the scheme out and can talk to them. And I didn't really appreciate, but that's really a really good method. Very hard, but it's got to be fun. You know, you can't be like bringing people to quarterly meetings and just doing the show and tell, which we do as well. You know, it's got to be fun. And this is from Lucy Latham, who I work with, and you know, she says people have got to aspire to be an EC, so be desirable quality. So that was 7 minutes. I've got a clip here, right? I don't know. It's a bit of a risk showing it because it's 3 minutes long and it's not immediately exciting. But I think it's a great demonstration of like the world's best EC. It's a comment on leadership and on social norms. I've seen it. So it loads. Oh, you can't see off, so yeah, not on because it's like it's not straight to YouTube.
I think there might be one without it.
So yeah, that's perfect EC, I think. That's it. Any? Are we doing questions?
Yeah, we've got 5 minutes to do some questions. Okay, so a couple of minutes for some questions, guys.
You've all talked about staff champions networks, or are you running student champions networks as well? if I made a mistake there, when you were all I think talking about staff champions.
I haven't managed that yet. Now that we've got somebody new looking after student services, I'm hoping to get an inroad, as it were. But we've got it's called a students' union, but it's not really. It's just a group of students who go and ask for some money for trips at the minute. So I think we've got a lot of work to do, but hopefully we'll make some progress there.
Okay, taken, Brent. One thing we've done, some of us talked earlier about the signages between the Green Impact, or we call it Edinburgh Sustainability Awards at Edinburgh, which is formally managed by the Students' Association. As part of the student volunteering opportunities, we've provided, and I think 30 students have signed up this year, maybe 20 of them are directly active, as student ambassadors who are helping the participant teams. And so that's been a little way, which is quite low-key, just a few hours, way that they can get involved and they can start doing something. And so they've been and gone to work, whether it's gone to speak to or meet with School of Biology or chemistry or different or administration. And then that all is aligning the initiatives with the Edinburgh Sustainability Awards, with a lunchtime thing, with the vice principal giving out prizes and bronze awards and things like that. So it's mutually reinforcing, which I think is beneficial, and it gets people to think that they don't have to be a specialist. It's not just the environmental studies students who can do it, but it's just like it's not just the chemical technicians who are doing the environmental stuff. But we broadened it to the wider social responsibility and sustainability agenda rather than just environmental.
That's a really good example. We run the Green Impact Awards, very, very similar to that, and they encourage us to use students to do the auditing on the teams. We had 25 teams this year, so we needed approximately 50 students to do that. And previously we've run that through the Students' Union because we believe that the students don't necessarily want to hear from the man, us guys who wear suits and sit in the environmental office, but they're best communicated through the Students' Union. I'm not sure that I agree with that now. We've targeted them in a different way, rather than saying this is a great green activity, it's something you should do because it saves the planet. This is training to help you become an auditor. Those are transferable skills that whether you're in finance, quality, environment, you name it, auditing skills are going to come in handy, and it shows that you've gone that extra mile to help supplement your CV. I think we had about 80 students respond to that. Okay, only sort of half of those turned up from training, but trying to sell it in other ways to the students other than just it being, as you say, something for environmental sciences students, I think is really important.
Just to say, sometimes we leave it to the students really for what Tom was saying, is that it's best that communication goes better for the students, so it's student-led activities. So they have their own ethics and environment committee, which is led by an environment and ethics and environment officer who's elected every year. They have a programme of every year of things that they do, which we work with them on. So we have a waste audit every year. We have 95 students turning up to that this year, and they get, at the end of it, we have something called the student passport. I'm sure everybody's got something similar at their place, where they get points awarded to them, so that when they finish their degree, they have something to show their future employers. So they just have initiatives throughout the year. So, and then I'm sure many of you have got student switch off. You do in your halls. We have a student switch off society, which has got a group of students, and they're going into the halls talking to the students. So it's very much coming from the student side, and we're facilitating some of the things they do, but some of the stuff that they do all the time throughout that. We're fortunate in that we have environment management students on our campus. So we have a group of enthusiasts already. The problem comes, when we were talking earlier, is that if you don't run courses like that, where are you going to get the students from?
So Tom mentioned the work that Joe Farthing and other colleagues have been doing on the back of the Transition Edinburgh University project. They're speaking tomorrow at 1:30. It's not very well framed, and it looks much less exciting than the Crown Field University one, but it's participatory engagement for change at 1:30. and Joe and Matt are going to be sharing ideas about face-to-face engagement. Speaking to people and so on. So that's an idea.
There's another question.
Yeah, it's a question for you, Tom, actually. It's just, I'd already heard a lot about your brilliant work with the building at Reading. I had a long chat with the consultant in Reading, actually.
Okay, fantastic.
But I was just wondering how you're going to, because obviously that's incredibly intensive to do that sort of technical detail for one building. And I wanted to know how you're going to roll that out to the 300 other buildings. And also, that was a new build, so I imagine it was relatively easy to put in to split it up so that you could look at the electricity profile in different areas and whether you'd be able to do that for the other building.
We split that out into a couple of projects because of the good work that that particular consultant did. We're using them again.
Yeah.
That was a relatively easy building. It was our student services building, as you mentioned. It was a modern, I think 2006, 2007 built building. We've commissioned similar work to be installed in our microbiology department, which is a mixture of teaching laboratories, large lecture theatres and office buildings. The way that we've split that building up again is it's just on an area basis. So without going into too much detail, on a very high level we've split out geographical areas of that building, if you like, with the ability to then go in and meter with portable metering specific areas like laboratories. We've also done the same in our School of Meteorology building, which is, again, it's an office building, but this time rather than targeting commercial staff, we're looking at academic staff to see how we can engage those guys. We want to understand whether it is the fact that we're giving them data or the fact that we're giving them high resolution data that's getting our results. So we've also installed half-hourly electric meters on another 20 of our buildings so that we can try more of a light touch approach to that project to see if that yields the same results or even results that are vaguely proportional. When we did roll out the initial project that you probably spoke to Bill about, we rolled out the very detailed, granular, high-resolution data project, and at the same time, in one of our other administrative buildings, we also rolled out a sort of typical consultancy project that you might have come across 5 and 10 years ago, where you get a consultant go around with a clipboard and count the number of lights that you've got switched off and the number of people that have seen posters on the wall, things like this, so more of a traditional approach. We found that saved 6 or 7% electricity consumption. We found that the more data-intensive ones saved 20 to 25%. So now we want to find out where the happy medium is in between. And in answer to your question, that's the step we're at the moment. That will then lead on to the development of our metering strategy. And then I need to have a chat with Neil, who's just done a lot of work at Southampton on sub-metering the campus.
And even if you won't get high resolution data, you're still aiming for real-time data, because that makes a big difference.
Day plus one at the
so you are getting day plus 1 for half hours?
Yeah. Are there any more questions?
Not necessarily in relation to data, but at Leeds we've got a lot of multiple occupancy buildings, and so you were talking about kind of building audits, and again with things like data, but just in general with our environmental coordinators. Do you guys have a mix of kind of single occupancy and multiple occupancy buildings, and if so, how do you tackle those? Because you're talking about issues of responsibility and ownership, and people certainly, I don't think, see themselves as part of buildings, and so when you can split a building into 6 sections, that's great, but maybe not just with data, but just in general with how do you tackle or...
Very difficult. I mean, some of our buildings we do have dedicated building managers, and it's relatively straightforward, although they do have a tough time with it, particularly if the building shared, as you say. But for a lot of our buildings we don't have that luxury, and then you have to basically just find individuals for those schools or groups that they have to be in the different areas of the building, because they don't talk to each other.
Okay, so the responsibility tends to lie
generally
on a departmental level.
Yeah, faculty department. You've got one building that's the same faculty, but you've got got geography on 2 floors and you've got psychology on the other 2, you'd think it would be faculty is the common denominator, but we talked to completely different individuals to talk about the same thing.
So do you have any lessons from that, or is it almost just the treatment as separate?
Well, from a data perspective, we haven't been able to solve that, and that's one of the reasons why our academic utility budget is centrally funded. We don't recharge to academic departments, which is also possibly a root cause for a lack of motivation amongst academic departments to reduce energy consumption, well, any department to reduce energy consumption. For the Green Impact Awards, we tackled it differently, and we said to those guys, if you're a key, we targeted our keener environmental champions, the guys that are motivated and coming forwards, and we started off the first year with them and said, right, well, we want someone to represent the department. No one came forward, maybe 1 or 2 building managers. And then we said, well, you guys can define your areas. So our Green Impact teams range from the biggest, which is the School of Humanities and Environmental Sciences, stuff like 1 person, which is probably 6 buildings, and they consistently get working towards bronze because the area is too big. And that ranges all the way down to our comms office, which has got half a dozen people in it, and they do really well. So to get that buy-in, we let them define, we let them make out of it what they want, really, rather than imposing. But yeah, that's really, we've got 1 building where we've got 3 Green Impact teams all looking at different floors of the building. I don't know if that really answers your question.
Yeah, no, I think we have a similar thing. We've got ranging sizes of Green Impact users. You let people take ownership rather than give them an area.
One last question?
We've sort of touched on it really, about motivations, because I think of what Helen was saying about the personal thing, and you know that there needs to be something in it for that individual as well.
Yeah.
But with the work we've been doing in tutors, trying to embed sustainability into vocational courses, and we've definitely found that it's the people who are keen, who want to take it and can see the potential. But I do think that the comment that Procter & Gamble made about the qualities that people have in critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork, and all of those things, it really lends itself to mainstream delivery in the curriculum, but it's making that happen, and that's, can increase your employability as a student through it, and that's maybe the way to sell it through the organization.
I think the job market as it is at the moment, that's the way to sell it to students. That's the most success that I've had in selling it to students. Is it's
directly rather than trying to sell it to tutors.
Yeah. So just a question for the audience. Have you guys, has anyone got either mandatory environmental champions for buildings or mandatory environmental training for staff or students throughout the campus?
I'm aware of MySco having that. And they also have it embedded into their lesson plans, scheme of work, and also observations. So alongside all of the equality and diversity, there's also sustainability, which is not just environment.
We've got like self-assessment reviews and things for the departments, and sustainability is being added as a box that people will be assessed against now. So I think times change. It's taken us a long time to get that there, but hopefully it means things will change a little bit if they're actually going to be assessed on it. And as you were saying, we get the lecturers have to say how many of their students went on to find work and things. So the sustainability as a method of improving CD and your employability is definitely good.
We kind of do as well. I think it's kind of appeared in the bottom of the appraisal forms now. Along with the health and safety policy and stuff, and then you kind of have compulsory sustainability champions for each department. There's only 1 department that's refused to put forward a sustainability champion.
Name them.
So there's School of Engineering.
They're on video now for it. You see the website.
And the School of Psychology actually as well, though we kind of share that one with the University of Kent as well. But we both try attacking them, and they kind of, to us they say, oh, we're nothing to do with Greenwich, we're Kent this year, and try and say, oh, we're Greenwich this year. And we haven't managed to get that, but yeah, we kind of do.
Does it work?
It does in a way. Certainly the departments which have the most senior management buy-in do the best, particularly because they're kind of like, really egging their champions on to do well. And then some where they're just like, oh, we kind of have to do this because it's been agreed at the senior meeting, but then don't really chase up the champions on anything. Nothing kind of really happens. So it seems to come down to kind of the personal taste as a senior manager, and also the personal effort of the champion.
Yeah, I think that kind of sums it up really. So on that note, I'll finish off with a couple of slides that we have. Finish it off. So we were asked to come up with 3 key messages from this session, and when there's so much discussion in a session, it's very difficult to come up with the 3 key messages in advance. But the ones that we did come up with, and please feel free to question those, were keeping your environmental champions active, and I suppose that's a two-way thing. Keep yourself active with your environmental champions, so keep that two-way engagement going. You guys, please feel free to kick in here if you'd like. From my point of view, is make sure that they've got the right data to base their decisions on, and also so that they know that they're doing something positive. They get some feedback, they know that they're saving energy, they know they're increasing their recycling rates, they know that there's more and more environmental champions out there to engage with. And finally, make sure they want to be environmental champions, and whether they want to be environmental champions because it's part of their job and they're going to be appraised on it at the end of the year, or whether they're environmental champions because truly in their heart of hearts they really want to be green and make the institution green as well. I think as long as they want to do it, that's one of the key things.